Mr. Page?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Preliminary matters on the AM docket, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, case number 3-419 East Baltimore Street, Jewel Box. Case number 6-25 East Cross Street, Social Pub and Pie. Those cases have been postponed. All interested parties will be notified as to the new date and time. First case on the AM docket, Tagliata Elk Room LLC, trading as Tagliata 1006-12 Fleet Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, and application to expand licensed premises to include 1006 Fleet Street. Please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners hearing for Baltimore City. For anyone who has not been here previously, we are recorded by the gentleman to my far left, and we are on television as well. I will need to have him swear in anyone who's going to give testimony. And when you speak, if you would first step up to the microphone and give your name, and if it's a difficult name, please spell it for our reporter, and then we will proceed from there. Thank you. Is there counsel present in this?
I'm counsel. Anastasia Nardangeli. It's Nardangeli.
Okay. And gentlemen, would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Ms. Nardan.
That last name one more time.
Nardangeli. Nardangeli.
Yes, Ms. Nardangeli. We have an application to expand the premises.
That's correct. The applicant is Tagliata Elk Room LLC. The current license covers 1012, 1010 Fleet Street, as well as the adjacent courtyard and adjacent lounge space. We are now here requesting that the license cover 1006 Fleet Street, which is also connected to the courtyard and the other restaurants, and will be managed and run by Tagliata Elk Room LLC. The space was formerly occupied by Bagby Pizza.
And didn't we approve something for them just last week?
Correct. So right now, the space is open and in operation, using the liquor license that was issued to the owner of Bagby Pizza, which is Bagby's Bistro LLC. And we're seeking to expand the Tagliata Elk Room license so that we don't have to use the liquor license that is held by Bagby's Bistro LLC for that space anymore. And Bagby's Bistro can go on and do what they please with it, either attempt to sell it and transfer it or let it lapse.
More specifically, so the Elk Room, which operates sort of toward the back of the restaurant, is going to expand its operation up to Fleet Street?
That's correct. I'm going to let Alex Smith, who is the manager of the LLC, talk.
It's two different concepts in the same vicinity, same building, same courtyard. So the new space that we just opened up is like a upscale pizzeria. So it just kind of goes with everything else that we have going on over there. And just for the purpose of organization and everything else, being that the other two entities are on the same liquor license, it just would make sense, since they're in the same building, the same courtyard, to be able to order and everything on the same license rather than have two separate licenses.
Okay. And do the commissioners have questions?
The expansion is just to cover that. It's the Italian disco?
Yeah,
Right.
that's correct, sir.
That's correct. And I have a letter of support from H&S Properties Development Corp. that I'd like to submit as exhibit number 1.
You give it to Ms. Russell, please.
Okay.
Anything further?
Unless the board would like to see it, I don't need to, but I have a copy of the menu. Would you like to take a look at it?
Always interested in the menus.
All right, I submit the menu as exhibit number 2.
Thanks, Stacey. Okay, thank you. Any menu questions? Okay, anything further?
I'd just like to say that based on our knowledge of the surrounding community and the letter of support, we'd like to proffer that there is a public need and desire for this, and it just makes a lot of sense for convenience purposes to not be operating under the current liquor license for that space and to expand the existing one.
Okay, and this license has no violations to our knowledge, so. Anything further?
Nothing further?
All right, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application to expand the licensed premises, the proffers from council and the testimony received as well as the exhibits received, I'd vote to approve the application.
I too concur to vote to approve the application as well.
And I agree to approve the expansion of the licensed premises.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'd call the exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit 1, letter of support dated May 23rd, 2017, from H&S Properties Development Corp. And licensee Exhibit number 2, menu. Thank you.
Rye Street Tavern Licensee LLC, trading as Rye Street Tavern, 225 East Cromwell Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to reduce the size of the licensed premises. Please come forward.
Good morning. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg Martin, on behalf of the applicant.
Good morning.
Joined by Adam Jen, who's one of the licensees on the license. The other licensee, Luke Ostrom, wasn't able to be with us today.
Raise your right hand, sir, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Hecker, I feel like this is also the second part. Didn't we also approve something previously on this?
We approved the transfer of the BD7 license to this location last summer. It was in
Oh.
August of last year.
Okay.
And you may recall, this is, the license is located at 225 East Cromwell Street over in Port Covington. It's the first restaurant over in that area. There's not a whole lot else in that area right now, but as you'll recall, and you'll see as the first item in the set of exhibits that I've handed up, we included in the license premises for the restaurant not only the restaurant building itself, but also two land units of the condominium regime, Land Unit 3 and Land Unit 4. They're outdoor space, and they're proposed to be used as the restaurant for service of food and drinks. And you can see on the exhibit that Land Unit 1 was not included in the licensed premises. Land Unit 1 is the Sagamore Spirit Distillery. It's completely separate ownership and operation. And what has occurred now that Rye Street Tavern is open, the distillery has expressed interest in also being able to host events in some of that outdoor space in the courtyard located between the restaurant and the distillery. But because they're a manufacturer that's licensed by the state, they can't use a retail premises for any of their events. So what we're proposing to do is to remove that area from the licensed premises, and it'll basically be a no man's land. It won't be licensed at all, either by the distillery or by the restaurant. And to the extent that either one wants to use that area, they could apply for a one-day extension of their license or engage a third-party caterer for events in that area. I've included also in the file that we've handed out some things that you'll recall from the last hearing, some press about the restaurant, the floor plan. But to cut to the chase, the last item in there is what we're proposing the new licensed premises will be. And you'll see that that area is outlined in red, and it shows a portion of Land Unit 4 as being removed from the premises.
The other thing, okay. Okay. Did you want to add anything, sir? The commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
It's an unusual request. We're actually reducing the size
It
of the
is.
licensed premises.
We're not
so
usually here on these.
I understand. Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits received and the proffers from council, I'd vote to approve the application.
I also vote to approve the application. Good luck.
I concur to
Thank you all.
reduce the size of the premises. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jordan.
I'd call exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit 1, business plan.
I was just putting there in case she needs.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we're going to move into the violation phase of proceedings. De facto Trans, Inc., trading as Ibis International, 6014 Harford Road. This is a Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license here for a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on March the 8th, 2018. Please come forward.
Before we begin this, so if there's anyone on this violation docket who does receive a fine from the board, you can go to the rear of the room, and Mr. Ramsey will provide you with the paperwork that you need. Counsel?
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of Ignatius Onyejiaka and DeFaco Trans Incorporated, trading as Ibis International.
Good morning.
Thank you. Very briefly, Mr. Onyejiaka hired me, retained me. We spoke last week. He's not here in the building. It's 10:20. I don't know if he thought it was at 11 instead.
Can we hold it?
May I ask that? Yeah.
Ms. Page, can we put it back to the end of the morning docket?
We
And
can,
I'll-
Mr. Chairman. Sure.
Thank you. I'll continue to try to make contact with him. Thank you.
Okay.
A&D LLC, trading as Midtown Liquor Store, 17 West Middle Street. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license here for a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 14th, 2018. Please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensee Alexander Walde, who is to my right.
Good morning. Would all those who are going to testify please raise their right hands?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It's going to be admission or denial?
Admission, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you or your client wish to speak about mitigation?
Very, very briefly, Mr. Chairman, at the time of the incident, Ms. Ayachu, who is Mr. Walde's aunt, was working, and she advises that she thought the cadet looked old enough and otherwise let her guard down. They do have a policy of making sure they card anybody that looks 30 or younger. It was just an unfortunate situation. She has her alcohol awareness, or she's in line to get it. We're going to make sure that everybody that works there, which is his mom, himself, his aunt, his sister-in-law, all get certified and or recertified. Mr. Walde has had some, if you look in the prior history, there's some issues in the past with regard to renovations that were made. All of that is resolved now. He's had no issues with regard to the operation of the premises. The last sale to minor violation was in 2016, for which he was given a one-day suspension. Most respectfully request that the board consider a $500 fine. The place is in pretty smooth operation at this point.
Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging papers, the proper from counsel, the admission, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 14, 2018. Giving credence to some extent to what Mr. Previs has said about these other violations, there are at least 2 previous sale to minor violations, and the licensees had the license for about 10 or 11 years. So it's not a great record. I would impose a fine of $1,000 and give him 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of 4.01A sales to minors, and this is as the chair mentioned, this is the 3rd violation of that context, and I agree with a $1,000 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A, and based upon the licensee's history, I too would agree with a $1,000 fine.
Thank you very much. Okay. 30 days.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective L.C. Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, Inspection Report, Inspector Andy Perez. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mumby LLC Inc., trading as Club Buns, 606-08 West Lexington Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, and a Class AE Adult Entertainment License, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 14th, 2018, and violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05A on March the 14th, 2018. Please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensees. To my right is Renal Dana Owens, and to my far right is Mr. Darrell Coles, the bartender on duty.
Good morning. Would all witnesses raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Admissions or denials?
Admission.
Okay. As to each violation?
I would ask that, I guess I've made this argument in the past that the adult entertainment violation is an exact duplicate and a result of the liquor board violation, so I would ask that any penalties be merged.
Well, let's,
not
when
there
we get
yet.
to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what happened?
Basically, what happened, Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Coles, who's been working at the premises on and off for 30-plus years, and regularly, at least the last 8 years, was on duty. He thought that the cadet looked well over 21, and based on that, he didn't card him. He let his guard down. He has an alcohol awareness certificate. He's going to make sure that that's current and recertify if it's not. It was just a situation where he let his guard down.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I do not.
Anything further, Mr. Priebus?
No, Mr. Chairman.
On the basis then of the materials containing in the charging documents, proffers from counsel, and the admission of the violations, I'd find a violation of Liquor Board Rule 4.01, small a, on March 14, 2018, and of our Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, small a, on March 14, 2018. Want to be heard on the
Briefly, yes, Your Honor. In the history, it indicates a board hearing on August 7, 14. That matter was reversed on appeal.
Their last
Last minor violation was
10 years ago.
2008.
I understand that.
Yes, so I asked the board to consider a fine and not a suspension.
Okay. Having found the violations as to as to a rule under each of the licenses held by the establishment, as to the 4.01A, I would impose a fine of $350 and give them 30 days to pay. And as to the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05A, I'd impose a $350 fine and give them 30 days to pay.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, March 14, 2018. In addition, I too find a violation of the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05A, March 14, 2018, and I impose a $350 fine as to each.
I concur with my colleagues in finding a violation of Rule 4.01A, as well as a violation of the Adult Entertainment License Rule 3.05A, and would find a fine of $350 for 4.01A and $350 for 3.05A.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you.
I'd call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Elsie Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Inspector Andy Perez. Thank you.
Frederick Station Saloon, 4019 Frederick Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on March the 22nd, 2018. Please come forward.
Good morning. Would all those who are going to testify raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Who is Sumi Kang?
She's my sister.
And your name, sir?
Ho Kang, Kenny Kang,
Can you spell it for our reporter down here, please?
K-N-N-Y. Last name is K-A-N-G.
Sorry, what was the first one? K-A?
Kenny, K-E-N-N-Y.
Mr. Kang, are you authorized by your sister to represent her here today?
Oh, it's a family business that she's out of town, and
Okay. Do you admit or deny that this sale occurred on March 22, 2018?
yeah, we admit.
Okay, we want to tell the members of the board what happened that day?
I was not working at that time, and my employee, she worked with us for over 4 years, and she was very prompt, and she always check IDs on every minors. Anybody who's under 30 or less, she always check. And that time, I asked her what happened. She said he looked like over 30 to her, and that's why she didn't bother to check the ID. And that's what she told me. And you could ask her the questions, and
If that's what you said, I believe you, ma'am. It was a mistake, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and the last violation for this was back in 2011. Do the commissioners have questions?
Are your employees, have they been alcohol certified?
yes, we're certified, and we got all the signs posted on the windows about, we check all the IDs, anybody's or 30s. And we always do the job, but I don't know, at the time she was kind of sick, and she overlooked the customer, and she told me, clear to me, he looked over 21 for.
Anything? Okay. Thank you, sir. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received the admission of the violation. I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 22, 2018. And in light of the licensee's history, I would impose a $500 fine and give him 30 days to pay.
Thank you.
I too impose a violation of Rule 4.01A on March 22nd, 2018, and I impose a $500 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a fine of $500.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective L.C. Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Inspector John Chrisomalis. Thank you.
Mother's Federal Hill Grill, Inc., trading as Mother's Federal Hill Grill, 1113 South Charles Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 14th, 2018. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadansky, 320 North Charles Street, representing licensee.
Good morning. Would all those who are going to testify raise their right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Kanansky, admission or denial?
That'll be an admission.
Okay. Any mitigation?
And mitigation is the licensee's been in business there for about 20 years and had that problem on this particular day. And it's in a hospitality business. People change, and he's going to have the more people certified. This was a night that they usually have checked people at the door. They had karaoke. Maybe this group was going to be the Four Tops. Oh, couldn't say that. And they didn't. One snuck in,
They don't look old enough to be the Four Tops. I remember the Four Tops.
could be that one that's song once bitten, twice shy.
Any problems with the licensee? Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
I do not.
Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the proffers from counsel, and the admission of the violation, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 14, 2018. As Mr. Kadansky indicated, this man's had this license for over 20 years, and this is his first violation. So recognizing that, I'd impose a $250 fine and give him 30 days.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 14, 2018, and given his history as well, I agree with the imposition of a $250 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would concur with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck.
Thank
you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Inspector Andy Perez. Thank you.
Camden View, Inc., trading as Luna Del C, 300 West Pratt Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 8th, 2018. Please come forward.
Would all of you please raise your right hands?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What is your name, sir?
Cameron Asadi, that's Kamran. My last name is Assadi.
Mr. Asadi, do you admit or deny this violation on March 8th?
Admit, sir.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what happened that evening?
Well, it was the mismanaged situation, and the manager who was on duty overruled the server who was right to court the person who was purchasing, and the manager actually resigned a couple of weeks after that, and it's unfortunate, but it did happen.
You have a new manager?
I am in the process of hiring one.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
Are your other employees alcohol certified?
Well, I am, and once I went through the procedure of training and everything, I had a meeting with them, and I had them aware of what's going on, and they are under this rule of the restaurant that is anybody that is under 40 needs to be checked ID. In general, anybody who is drinking needs to have an ID on their possession so they can purchase alcohol.
I encourage you to have your employees alcohol
We'll do
certified.
that.
Just one comment. It sounds to me like the bartender who was right should maybe be your manager. Sounds like you did the right thing. I mean, that's your
Well-
decision. I don't know. I'm just sort of
Well, we did-
jokingly, but you got to give him credit, right?
Well, my staff, they've been with me throughout different ventures of the restaurant that I've been involved since 1984 in the city of Baltimore, and we've been there since 2003. Things like that does not happen under my watch, but it did happen, unfortunately, and I wasn't on premises.
Okay. Well, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, and any objection, any problems with Mr. Asadi? Okay. Thank you. On the basis of these materials, on the basis of your testimony and your admission, I find a violation of Rule 4.01A on March 8, 2018. You've had the license since 2009, and this is the first violation. I would impose a fine of $250 and give you 30 days.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on March 8, 2018, and given the history that there are no violations against this license, I concur with a $250 fine.
I, too, find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would concur with my colleagues in the imposition of a fine of $250.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Asadi.
you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, Investigation Report, Fire Inspector Andy Perez. Thank you.
D&R Enterprises, Inc., trading as Don't Know, 1453-55 Light Street. This is the Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 14th, 2018. Please come forward.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of licensee David Makarovich, who is unable to be here today due to a child care conflict, and I'll pass this letter up to the board.
Is there going to be testimony?
No.
Okay.
Authorizing Mr. Leonard, the general manager, to act on his behalf.
But let's get everyone sworn anyway. Please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Are you admitting, Mr. Fogelman?
Yes, we are.
Do you want to explain, or does Mr. Leonard?
I'll be happy to explain, unless you have further, more detailed questions. It was a momentary lapse of good judgment, and the part-time server, Michael Piptone, Mr. Leonard has informed me, received TIPS certified training. He received alcohol management training. Unfortunately, it's at the bar, and we don't have it here. They did, so as you may imagine, they did keep Mr. Piptone on staff. As I counsel most of my clients, that the best employee is somebody who's a little bit worried about things like complying with the laws. And I think that the easiest way to be advised of it is to have a run-in like this. So they feel confident that this will not happen again on the part of their server. They have an excellent record. They have not been before the board ever, as far as I can tell.
Commissioner Greenfield wants to know how you came up with the name. Don't Know.
It's been don't know
Is that Jason?
beforehand.
Is that
It was
Zink?
don't know when it was bought. Yeah.
So yeah, Jason Zink, who used to own some bars, I think he's still got one. He bought, he invested with another person in 2 bars, and there was don't know and no idea, which was just to drive people crazy. Where were you last night? No idea, don't know. So it's a little play on words.
What was your name?
John Leonard, Leonard.
Okay. And gentlemen, was the management cooperative? Okay. Commissioners have anything further?
I don't have any questions.
No
All right,
questions.
then, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the proffer from counsel, the admission and the testimony received, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01A on March 14, 2018. No history of violations. I'd impose a $250 fine and give them 30 days to pay.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 14, 2018, and I concur with a $250 fine given the history of no violations.
Find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a fine of $250.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Inspector Andy Perez. Thank you.
GLOF Inc., trading as Oxford Tavern, 1741 West North Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on February the 28th, 2018. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensees.
Morning. Would everyone raise their right hands, please?
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Admission or denial, Mr. Fogelman?
That is an admission. Thank you.
So February 28th, what occurred?
Okay, on February 28th, Mr. Otgan Dragal, who is present, he'll stand. He also had a lapse in judgment and sold to a cadet who, I think it was Cadet Day. You're Cadet Day, right? Okay, yeah, to Cadet Day. He also is still in the employ of the licensees and understands that any further misconduct could result in a closure of the bar. He has also been certified through TAM. They have not received the certificate yet. The training was just completed. Again, Mr. Kang and Ms. Park are active in their community. They have made thousands of dollars in contributions to local elementary schools and community affairs. Additionally, Dr. Kang is the vice president of the Asian American Beverage Association. I will put into evidence a letter of appreciation for his gifts and generous donations by Delegate Bilal Ali, a citation from Maryland Senate, and a citation from City Council President Jack Young for service to the community. These are all dated in 2017 and 18. Finally, I'd like to enter a letter from the Liquor Board indicating that the licensees passed a compliance check on January 16th. It's a letter they received on March 1st, a day after they received this current violation. I also include a Baltimore City Health Department tobacco sales enforcement program, random tobacco inspection, passing, I don't want to say citation, but an award, some kind of a.
Okay, we'll receive all.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Mr. Kang and Ms. Park bought the bar 4 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, 4 years ago this summer. They've gone, as you can see, they had some problems when they opened up back in 15, but it's been over 3 years to this present instant offense. So they had a very good track record. They're very decimated that this happened because they wanted to keep in compliance with the Liquor Board. Given that there has been more than 3 years between the violations, I'd ask that you consider that in your decision.
I'm sure we will. Cooperative?
Let the record reflect that this has been a license that was under protest by the community.
Yes, we did a protest of renewal hearing on April 20 of last year as well. Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the proffer from counsel, the admission, and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on February 28, 2018. I'd impose a $500 fine and give them 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on February 28th, 2018, and I concur, given the history, with a $500 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Thank you.
Can I have 2 seconds? Are we on the record?
Yes.
Okay. I call the exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Inspector John Howard. Licensee Exhibit 1, online banking receipts. Licensee Exhibit 2, letter of appreciation dated January 8th, 2018. Board Exhibit, Licensee Exhibit 3, official citation. Board Exhibit 4, certificate. And Board Exhibit 5, letter from Baltimore City Liquor License Commissioners dated March 1st, 2018. Thank you.
L. Rincon, Troncolino, 422-26 South Macon Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 23rd, 2018. Please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. Would you please raise your right hands?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Are you Mr. and Mrs. Munoz?
Yes,
Okay. And do you admit that this occurred on March 23?
yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to tell the board what happened?
Just was, is my no fault. We didn't ask to the gentleman when they got into the place to ask for ID, but I saw his face look like a more than 22, but it's my, that was my fault.
So you're the one who served him?
Yeah, I got my price certified, yeah, because I'm
Okay.
the owner, so I got the.
Okay. And are you certified, alcohol certified?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay. Were they cooperative?
Yes, Chairman. Actually, the events occur where the security guard lapsed in his job, and a young lady.
So they had somebody carding at the door?
Right, and he just didn't do his job. I watched him just let the person walk right in, our cadet, excuse me. And the young lady was under the impression that he'd already been carded. So the gentleman here and the lady, they were very cooperative in every way, shape, and form.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, it was my new bartender that was she's being asked to.
Do you still have that security person?
Yeah, I got security.
You
there,
expl-
I got security, I
You
think.
explain, okay.
Chairman, that was a big problem establishment before they transferred. And
So-
since they took it over in the past year, besides 1 or 2 noise complaints, we haven't had any major instances there that we used to have.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
Do not.
I don't have any questions.
All right, then, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received, the admission, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 23, 2018. Based on the testimony from our staff, as well as the history of no violations, I'd impose a $250 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 23rd, 2018, and given the history of no violations, I concur with a $250 fine and 30 days to pay.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and agree with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Good luck.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Liquor Board report, Agent John Chrisomalis. Thank you.
S&H Liquors, Inc., trading as Village Liquors, 4220 Edmondson Avenue. This is a Class A2 beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 22nd, 2018. Please come forward.
Would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Who is Sue Hae-Suk Lee? Did I say that wrong?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Do you admit that this violation occurred on March 22?
Yes.
Okay. Will you tell us what happened that evening?
Can you explain to my daughter?
Hi.
Yes, that's fine.
My
Your name,
is
ma'am?
Christine Lee.
Okay.
Christine.
Okay.
And I'm going to be here speaking on behalf of my dad's family as well as my
Okay.
mom. Just because I feel like I'll be able to explain it a little
That's
bit
fine.
better.
Just tell us if you know what happened that evening.
Yeah, so on March 22nd, we were actually not in state because on March 18th, 4 days prior to that, my dad was on a trip in Pennsylvania, his aneurysm ruptured. And so we were all in Pennsylvania for about 3 weeks in the ICU.
Did he survive that?
He did.
That's good.
I also have that document here that he was in the hospital.
That's fine.
If you want to just take a look at that. He was discharged on April 6th, so he was in the ICU for 3 weeks, and our whole family was in Pennsylvania just staying with him. So the business was not monitored, as well as it should have. And on that day, I believe Aaron sent me, who is no longer at the establishment anymore after this incident happened. He may have not been, because my dad wasn't there, I don't know if he just kind of let loose a little bit and was more lenient and didn't really check the IDs as he was supposed to. My dad and my mom has had that business for 25 years now. And they're very active in the community. I also have a letter from Bilal Ali.
That's fine. Thank you. The documents will be received.
American Beverage Association. And so they are very active in the community. They've been there for 25 years. They know all the neighbors. But I think this was just a very unfortunate incident that happened because they really try to, abide by all the law and with Board of Liquors. An inspection has been great. I believe they were there in May and then previously in March, and everything checked out there. And
Do you work in the establishment as well?
No. No, I
What
just
is your
graduated school, yeah.
From?
George Washington for nursing.
Oh, congratulations. Do you have a job?
Yes, I do.
That's good.
Thank God.
That's good. Establishment cooperative? Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I do not.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the admission of the violation, and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 22, 2018. Given the circumstances at the time, the fact that this license is 25 years with a single violation 10 years ago, I would be inclined to give a $250 fine and give you 30 days to pay.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 22nd, 2018. Given the testimony today by the daughter, I concur with a $250 fine as well.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, and given the testimony by Ms. Lee and the exhibits, I too would agree with an imposition of a $250 fine.
Thank you. Good luck in your job.
Good luck. I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore State Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent John Chrisomalis. Licensee Exhibit 1, hospital record. Licensee Exhibit 2, letter of appreciation dated January 8th, 2018. Thank you.
'99 Uptown Inc., trading as Uptown Bar, 1901 Edmondson Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 22nd, 2018. Please come forward.
Please raise your right hands.
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name, sir?
Young Min Chang, last name Chang.
Mr. Chang, do you admit that this occurred on March 22?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an explanation for us?
Yes. First of all, I have to apologize my employee, Miss Bridget, selling my liquor to the minor at the time. So she has almost 10 years experience of working in a store with me. But she was that is the first time to selling the liquor to the minors.
But you were somebody was just here in March for another one. Was that Ms. Griffin as well?
No.
Okay.
She worked by herself.
Okay.
And she made a mistake.
Has she been certified, alcohol certified?
Yes.
Okay. Is she the primary person who manages and takes care of the bar?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who it was back in March who was doing it?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Who was that?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who was the bartender back in March when there was the other sale?
No bartender at the time. She worked by herself, the cashier and bartender, both of them.
Was Griffin was doing both?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Because Bai's business is slow.
Okay. Cooperative? Commissioners? Oh, yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see. Mr. Ali's been busy. He's been signing a lot of letters, but we'll accept. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions?
I don't have any questions.
So, sir, Mr. Chang, what, because it's not often that we see two violations consecutively in such a short period of time.
Yes.
What steps are you taking to prevent this from happening again?
Because basically she must be tired at the time. Even though I keep asking my employees to check ID of a customer who looks under 40 years old and a new face customer, but at the time she made a mistake.
Now, I understand. I'm wondering what you're doing to prevent this in the future, because what you're doing now doesn't seem to be working. And I guess my last point is that if this happens again, it could be extraordinarily serious for your license.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I keep training my employees, check IDs. That's all I have.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents as well as the testimony and the admission, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01A on March 22, 2018. Given the history so recent, I would impose a $750 fine and give them 30 days to pay.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 22nd, 2018, and I concur with that $750 fine, given that this is a second violation within 30 days.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A, would agree with the imposition of a $750 fine.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Amalis. License Exhibit 1, letter of appreciation dated January 8, 2018. Thank you.
Mr. Fogelman, did your client ever show up?
Thank you. No, but I've made contact with him.
I just want to make, are we off the record for this conversation? I just want to make sure it needs to be on.
No, we can go back on. That's okay.
Yeah, I spoke to him. He was under the mistaken impression that it was a 1 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, this is in the case of 6014 Harford Road, a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license here for a violation of 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 8th, 2018.
So he can be here at 1 o'clock?
Yes, he's told me he had planned all day to be here at 1 o'clock. I apologize for the
If
confusion.
the other commissioners don't object, I'll hold it over to the 1 o'clock docket.
I don't object.
No objection.
Thank you very much.
Is that the morning docket then, Mr. Page?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until 1 p.m.
Okay, let's make this one first, okay, at 1 o'clock.
Will do. Yes, sir.
Mr. Page?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Now begins the PM session of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we're going to recall the very first case on the violation docket from this morning. De facto Trans Inc., trading as Ibis International, 6014 Harford Road. This is a Class B, a beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 8th, 2018. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Thank you, Stephen W. Fogelman. This will be an admission.
Okay, well, let's raise our right hands anyway.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Mr. Fogelman?
Thank you, just briefly. Yeah. Okay. All right. Appearing before you today, and thank you for your patience, is Mr. Onyejiaka, Ignatius Onyejiaka. He is the licensee at Ibis International on 6014 Harford Road. This is a first offense. Ms. Sashana Roxanne Carter was the bartender who sold the alcohol to the cadet. She no longer works for the establishment. She was let go as a result of this and some other issues. I have visited the restaurant before. It is a mixed ages place. It serves a lot of food. It's Nigerian food, and it has a bar scene that at times gets busy. They've done a good job of knowing their locals and carding, but on the night in question, the cadet apparently had no problems being served. Mr. Onyejiaka doesn't have any magic remedy for this, but he's advised all of his employees that this is something that's going to cause him more and more problems down the road if there's a reoccurrence. So with that, we'd ask for you to consider the fact that this is a first offense, and we thank you.
Were they cooperative? Okay. Commissioners have questions?
Have all their employees been certified?
I don't believe they have, but I know that Mr. Onyejiaka is certified, and I would recommend that his full-time employees certainly be alcohol management certified as well in the future. Thank you.
Okay. All right, on the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the admission, the proffer from counsel, as well as testimony, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on March 8, 2018. This licensee's had the license for a year and a half to 2 years, and this is the first offense, so I would impose a $250 fine and give him 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March 8, 2018, and I concur with the imposition of $250 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would concur with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective L.C. Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent John Chrisomalis. Thank you.
Case number 1 on the PM docket. Kai S. Kim Inc., trading as Irvington Cutright Liquors, 4100 Frederick Avenue. This is a Class A, a beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on March the 22nd, 2018. Please come forward.
Would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name, sir?
K-I-S-U-K-K-I-M.
Mr. Kim, do you admit that this occurred on March 22?
Yes.
Okay, and do you want to tell us what happened?
Around 9 o'clock, March 22nd, I was working at the counter, but a guy coming in asked me if some kind of E&J something Parmesan. I don't remember that, but I thought he was over 25-6. So actually, I didn't ask him ID. So that's my fault and my mistake. I realized that.
Okay. Detective, do you have any problems with Mr. Kim?
No, no problems whatsoever.
Okay. Are you alcohol certified, sir? Have you taken that test, the course?
No.
No, you have not. Perhaps, I know that my Commissioner of my right's going to ask you why not, and I think it would be a good idea for you and your staff to do that. But commissioners have other questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received, the admission, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01A on March 22, 2018. Mr. Kim, there was a prior sale to minor about 7 years ago, and a violation 3 or 4 years ago. I would impose a $500 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on March 22nd, 2018, and I concur with a $500 fine.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I forgot to say this, but for those of you who need the paperwork, Mr. Ramsey's in the back, and he will provide it, okay?
I'd call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, Investigation Report, Agent Chris Malice. Thank you.
AKO Liquors, 2700 West Fairmount Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on February the 16th, 2018. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Good morning, Commissioners. Edward Middlebrooks on behalf of AKO Liquors. This is going to be an admission.
Okay.
Middlebrooks, Middlebrooks.
Let's swear everyone anyway. Please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Middlebrooks, what happened on February 16th?
On February 16th, the owner, licensee's son-in-law was operating the liquor store establishment at that time. This occurred approximately 12:30 at night. They were closing. There was a lot of closing as far as getting the store ready to close, when apparently I was told the cadet came in. He, in the rush to close the store, served the cadet, and this is why we're here today.
Yeah, you know, they've had this license for 10, 11 years. This is their fourth sale to minor, although it's been 8 years.
From the last one, I believe.
From the last one. So, I mean, I understand that, but it's not a great record.
I know when I was here, I believe, it doesn't seem like 8 years, just so you know, but when I do believe I did have the owner alcohol certified at that time. I do not believe our son-in-law is alcohol certified, so I told him I do want him to do that. And I did explain to him, I got it. You're in a hurry. You're trying to get out. You're closing. Somebody rushes in. You have to take a license. And I thought I had that hammered home, but I do not know the son-in-law at that point.
Okay.
Otherwise, they run a good establishment.
Commissioners have questions?
Were they cooperative?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have asked.
Yes.
I guess my concern is what steps are being taken to address this going forward. I mean, I understand the certification, but, and I understand the response, anyone over, anyone under 40 we're going to card. But as the chairman said, I mean, this is not a great record on this specific charge, and that's what worries me.
Well, look, I can only tell you, I've sat down, I explained to them that because you're closing, or if you're in a hurry, or if you're busy, you must card everybody. I explained to them the seriousness of the charge. I told them they do have prior charges. I knew the other ones quite a while ago, but I told them this stuff's going to happen if you don't go through everything. And I think that's why I want to make sure the brother-in-law is also alcohol certified, because until he got involved, we have not had problems in a number of years. And I explained to them that they're at risk here if they will not accept excuses.
Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, proffers from counsel, the admission and testimony, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on February 16, 2018. in light of the licensee's record, even though it's not recent, I'd impose a $750 fine and give them 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on February 16, 2018. I'm inclined to go to a $1,000 fine and 30 days to pay.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and will concur with Commissioner Hayfield on a $1,000 fine.
Okay.
Given the licensee's history.
Thank you.
Does that make it a $1,000 fine?
Yeah, it's 2 to 1.
I was just counting my votes.
I was overruled.
You're overruled. Maybe, you're not used to being overruled, are you?
It happens.
Plus the administrative.
Yes. All right,
How
thank
much
you.
is that?
Hundred-
1120. Okay. Thank you. May I
Thank
step
you.
back?
You may.
All right.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Clark. Thank you.
Alexander's Tavern LLC, trading as Alexander's Tavern, 710-12 South Broadway. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license here for a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 18th, 2018. Please come forward.
May I ask everyone to raise their right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name, sir?
Charlie Jurdy?
Mr. Jurdy, do you admit that this occurred on April 18?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell the board what happened?
Should I have Melanie, the bartender?
You can. Just give your name, ma'am, please.
Melanie Hagan,
Hagen, H-A-G-E-N?
A-N.
A-N.
Yes.
Okay.
It was late, and I was sweeping up when the cadet came in. He ordered a Captain and Coke. I made it for him, continued sweeping, and
Okay. He wasn't carded, though, right?
No, no,
Okay.
sir.
Cooperative? Okay. Commissioners?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony, the admission, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01A on April 18, 2018. This license is about 10, 11 years old with no history, so I'd impose a $250 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 18, 2018. I concur with the $250 fine given history of no violations.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would join my colleagues in the issuance of a $250 fine.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Malice.
I'm going to withhold.
Baltimore Little D's LLC, trading as Little Darlings, 403-05 East Baltimore Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a Class AE adult entertainment license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 19th, 2018. Violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.05A on April the 19th, 2018. Please come forward.
Mr. Roberson, present?
Yes, Your Honor, apologize.
You just like to make a grand entry.
I need a plot.
State your name for the record, please,
Peter
counsel.
Previs on behalf of the licensee Christopher Roberson, who is with me.
Good afternoon. Would you all raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
Okay. Admission or denial, Mr. Previs?
Denial, Mr. Chairman, and I've never made this argument before this board ever. It's not a matter of admitting or denial that a sale was made to a minor. It just wasn't done under my licensee's license because we had deposited the license with the liquor board and made it very specific that there would be no management agreement and the place was to remain closed until there was a transfer of this license. So,
What was the date of that?
The date of
That the license was surrendered?
August 30, 21st, I believe,
Of 17,
of 17.
and it's closed.
It should have been closed.
Well, let me hear from our people.
I actually would call Detective Greenhill because we've been there 2 times. Well, this occasion and another occasion in reference to this location that was supposed to be closed and was operating without a liquor license. We shut them down each time, unless Agent Chris Mouse or I know.
Well, the detective's behind you. Do you want?
Okay, wonderful.
Can you raise your right hand, sir, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Detective, what can you tell us?
As far as the initial investigation with the cadet, it was open for business.
Oh, you're talking about April 19th of this year.
Yes, it was open for business. Now I did file a separate report where we were just there last week on the 17th of May, where it was supposed to be closed, and it was operating without a liquor license. So that's where.
Is it open or closed now?
Now it's closed.
Okay. And who closed it?
Myself as well as Agent Chris Malice.
And where's the license? Is your client in possession of the license?
No, Mr. Chairman, I misspoke. It was August 21st was the date the paperwork was signed. Basically, what had occurred is there was an agreement between Little Darlings and the landlord that in consideration for termination of the lease without further liability, the tenant would assign the liquor license and the rights to it to the landlord for further disposition. So there was paperwork signed on August 21st. The keys were given up. The license was in the possession of the attorney for the landlord, I believe Mr. Rombro's firm, Rosenberg Martin. And as far as we knew, the license was on deposit. Mr. Fogelman represents the purchaser, the end purchaser, not the landlord. And I believe he filed a transfer application in November of 17. And he contacted me regarding a management agreement around Christmas time of 17. And I indicated that my client stated under no uncertain terms there was going to be no management agreement, that the place was not to open until the transfer was consummated. There was a hearing in February approving the transfer, and we assumed that the transfer was consummated, but then Mr. Robertson gets the summons saying that he's in violation because the license is in his name, and we don't know how that happened because that license should have been deposited with the liquor board.
Yes, Mr. Akers, raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thomas Akers, Deputy Executive Secretary, Liquor Board, Baltimore City. Your Honor, defense counsel is right in that there was a transfer application filed with our agency earlier or late in December of 2017. And there was a transfer hearing held on the application February 8th, 2018. However, the liquor license was never deposited with the agency itself. And it may have been held by defense counsel or it may have been held by another counsel, but the license itself was not in the hands of the liquor board. So that means that Mr. Robertson or whoever he may have contracted with could operate the license ostensibly. The liquor board was not privy to their agreement. You may have transfer authorization documents that are with the board right now that I believe Mr. Priebus had mentioned, but that doesn't necessarily stop the license from being operated. And I do want to make one other point. There's an Attorney General opinion back in 1983 that talked about the corporation owning the license. Currently, the corporation that owns this license is registered with the liquor board or is Baltimore Little D's LLC. That has not changed at all. And in that opinion, it also states that the individuals named for that corporation for a liquor license shall be held responsible for that license as long as it is in existence. In this case, Mr. Robertson is still the licensee. The liquor board was not submitted the license to put on deposit, and the location could be open and operating up until transfer.
But
Can I ask a question? So what I don't understand, if we approve the transfer in February.
Yes.
Such that Mr. Roberson is no longer the owner according to us.
That's actually not correct.
Okay, explain.
If you approve the transfer, the owner's, I guess, hold or association with the license remains until the transfer is complete.
So so again, reiterate if you haven't already, so make sure I understand. At what point is it actually complete beyond our approval of a transfer?
Once the board approves the transfer, the licensee or the applicant to become a licensee still has to submit health permits, a use and occupancy permit, a fire code permit. There has to be a criminal background. The check has come through CJIS. There are a number of boxes, so to speak, to check before the board, the agency, actually issues the license. So approval by the board is one major step, but not the penultimate step in issuing the license.
And what would have kept, so the new licensee has the responsibility to obtain all those things?
Correct.
Okay, and provide proof to the board?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously that didn't happen here.
Not yet.
Okay. And your client wasn't aware of that, but,
No, Your Honor.
so,
Your Honor.
who's, yes?
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman, I represent Donald Savoy, who is the applicant who was approved for transfer by this board in March. I'm going to ask you an unusual request. I can tell you that we're not interested in appealing this matter. I would ask, if you are able to do so, that you amend the charges with our consent to name the putative licensee, Donald Savoy, as the respondent in this matter, and he'd be responsible for the violation.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Savoy, as of today, is not a licensee. He's an applicant. There's an application pending completing a 100-day transfer. That is not-
I
is not-
understand. I don't deny.
Yeah, I don't know that we can do that. I think we're going to have to go forward as to what goes on between these individuals. That's their private matter. I didn't have anything to do with the transaction that didn't go through. So if there was a motion to dismiss based on him not having the license, it's denied because he still has the license. I guess you can't, not in a position to admit this because you weren't there.
Yes, sir.
So let's hear the testimony.
On 4/19/2018, 4,500 hours, we were utilizing Cadet Clado as a underage police cadet. We have memorialized that he is under the drinking age. We sent him into the location, 403 East Baltimore Street, known as Little Darlings, with pre-recorded $20 bill, which time he asked for a 12-ounce Corona in exchange for the $20 bill, which was taken by a server named Denise Van Ryn, 1/26/1980, at which time Cadet Clado advised us of the purchase of the 12-ounce Corona. We then entered the location, Detective Greenhill and Agent Chris Amalis, and others there with the liquor board, such as I'm drawing a blank right now. Inspector Perez helped identify this individual who sold the alcohol to our cadet. I will put on the record that at the time the liquor license was present in this location on 4/19/2018, 0045 hours, and it stated that the licensee was Mr. Christopher Roberson. So we were not aware of any transfer or any dealings going on. We just assumed that this was a night manager or another person running the club, and that Mr. Roberson was still the licensee of the establishment. All events occurred in Baltimore City, state of Maryland.
Questions?
Just to reiterate, Detective Gatto, you said the license was actually in the premises on the wall?
It was recorded by Detective Greenhill. Mr. Previs, I would not have any of this information here, his name or any, Right, if it had not been there, because that's always been a problem before when we go to a location, they're operating without a license, and we go to write a report, and we're like, well, what do we, how do we title this? Who, we have to find somebody who's in charge, who's running it, so.
Thank you. I have no
Anything
further
further,
questions.
Commissioners?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, on the basis of the materials contained in the chart, yes.
May I? for the
You wanna
record,
make an,
Call my client and call Mr. Fogelman?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Call Stephen Fogelman.
Please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Fogelman, you represent the applicants for the transfer of the license, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and did you have a conversation with me on or around Christmas time of 2017 with regard to the continued operations of this establishment under a management agreement?
Yes, I did.
And were you made aware through me that my clients did not wish to enter into a management agreement and that the place was to remain closed until the transfer was consummated?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and to your knowledge, the place was closed?
Yes,
at
to
that
my
time?
knowledge, yes.
Okay. But apparently it was open on the day the detectives were there.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but right.
Okay. But neither you nor your clients had any authority from the licensee to open the premises?
No.
Okay. Your clients entered into a new lease with the landlord?
Yes.
And when is the effective date of that lease? If you know.
Mr. Savoy may have the lease. The lease I'm looking at here, First Amendment was made January 16th, and I think that was the lease. It says
Okay,
First
so-
Amendment, but January.
So it was prior to the date of this event that occurred?
Yes.
March or April. Okay, so the current licensee no longer had a lease at the premises?
That's correct,
And
as
he
of
had
January 16th.
No possession and no physical operations were under his control?
Right, I mean, this lease appears to be a mutual or an exclusive use of the premises that houses the club Little Darlings at 403 to 05 East Baltimore Street.
Are you aware of a substitute application having been filed by the counsel for the landlord?
Yes, it was my understanding that they had filed it. I asked counsel to ask the liquor board to not rule or not move on that substitution so that we could talk, so that is myself and you could talk about the possibility of entering into a management agreement. And once the license had gone in the name of a secured creditor, as you know, there would be no way that the business could operate under that license. And thus, the counsel for Mr. Gresser, the landlord, and I agreed that that substitute application would be pulled back, so to speak.
Okay, so at the point that a substitute application would be filed, the license would be an exhibit to that substitute application, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we do know that the liquor license was in the counsel for landlord's possession at some point?
Yes, and possibly the liquor board. Again, they didn't rule on the ultimate request.
Okay.
They didn't execute the original request.
Okay, so just for clarification for the legal issues with regard to explain to the board, one possibility when the tenant surrendered the liquor license to the landlord was intending to file a substitute application, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that, if that substitute application was filed, then the license would be in the name of the landlord as secured creditor or something analogous to secured creditor, is that correct?
That would be reasonable to expect.
And once the license is typed up in the name of a secured creditor, no one can operate under that license unless and until the transfer application is approved from the secured creditor to the transferee of the secured creditor. Is that correct?
That's my long-term understanding, yeah.
Okay, and the initial intention of everyone was that the landlord, the license was surrendered to the landlord who was gonna file a substitute application. And that application was pulled back in light of the fact that you were representing an end purchaser of the license and requested that this procedure be streamlined from a two-party transaction to a three-party transaction. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I consented to that streamlining procedure. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, but we did not consent to the place remaining open unless and until the transfer was approved and the checklist was done and the license was picked up. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Mr. Roberson? Call Christopher Roberson. Mr. Roberson, you in fact executed a transfer authorization and affidavit of compliance, and you also have from Baltimore Little D's LLC a bill of sale to BFC Realty LLC, who is the landlord. Is that correct?
Correct.
And these documents were executed on August 21, 2017?
Correct.
And the premises was surrendered to the landlord at that point?
Yes.
And the license was surrendered to the landlord?
Yes.
And it was your understanding and intention that that license would be deposited with the liquor board?
Correct.
And it was also your understanding and your intent that the premises not be reopened unless and until the transfer was consummated. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to offer these as exhibits 1, 2, and 3. And these were also exhibits to the substitute application that was pulled back, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, to your knowledge.
Commissioners have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I do not.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So with respect to, well, first of all, on the basis of the charging materials, the testimony received and proffers from counsel, I believe that Mr. Roberson is technically responsible for the events of April 19. So I would find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on April 19, 2018, as well as a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05a on April 19, 2018. Having heard the testimony, I don't think that it was his intention to have the place open and doing anything on that date. So I'm not going to, I wouldn't impose a fine, but I'm going to suspend the license until there's an opportunity for the board to hear the transfer application.
I'm sorry,
We
not to
already heard.
make things confusing, Mr. Chairman, but the transfer application was approved, it's pending.
I mean,
checklist.
the application to take over the license by the new licensee, which is, we don't have yet, I believe.
I think I think we did approve it in February, if I
Correct.
understood. But the problem is the new licensee didn't or the
Perfect it.
didn't perfect it. Correct. So it's sort of this. So I don't know that we have, Mr. Chairman, any other action that can be taken.
Well, I think
I don't-
finding the violations, I think we can suspend until we're satisfied that it should be open and operating again.
Right, so once the transferee completes the checklist to
If
pick
we
up the
then issue it,
license.
yes, but I want to be satisfied that he or she has not been operating unlawfully.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I, too, find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 19, 2018, and a violation of the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05A. And I will concur with the judge's finding that this place be suspended until the process has been perfected.
So I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, as well as a violation of the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05A. I do agree it's a licensee here is technically responsible, and will concur that the license is suspended until there's proof that that the transfer is perfected by the transferee.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, clarification, please. Is that both the liquor license and the adult?
Yes, I meant
entertainment
both.
license?
I did mean both, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sure.
Item call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Amalis. Licensee Exhibit 1, transfer authorization. Licensee Exhibit 2, affidavit of compliance. Licensee Exhibit 3, bill of sale.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Jerry's Belvedere Tavern, 5928 York Road. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 26th, 2018. Please come forward.
Please raise your hands.
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Your name, sir?
David Rulo.
And do you admit this violation on April 26th, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to explain to the board
On that particular night, generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, I'm always in front of my liquor store, usually between 10:30 to 2 a.m. That particular night, my line cook's wife died for the second time that month, so I ended up having to be in the kitchen.
She died twice?
Well, that's the excuse. She died twice, yeah. So, unfortunately, I had to be in the kitchen. It was a particularly busy night. I was closing up the kitchen. Bartender comes in, says that the liquor board's out front. I come up front. I find this situation has happened. He was asked to turn over the money. He pocketed the money. He never even rang the item up. This is a rogue employee who acted on his own because he knows better. And basically that was it. I cooperated with the liquor board. I cooperated with the police officers, gave them all the information that they wanted to know. I've also instituted a few other things, now making it mandatory that all my front house staff gets TAM certification. And in the process of looking for new employees, I've decided to take a page out of the McDonald's hiring practices, and now I'm hiring retirees as opposed to younger individuals who see this as a part-time job, and to them it's not their problem, it's not their concern. So these are the things that I'm currently trying to do to...
On behalf of retirees, I thank you.
Thank you.
Was he cooperative?
Very cooperative under the circumstances.
Okay.
His employee has obviously been stealing from him for a while now, and he just so happened to decide to try to steal the $20 bill that was our pre-recorded money. And then not only until the licensee came to the front, after me questioning and questioning him, he's opening the register, showing me nothing. Oh, I gave it to another patron, which was incorrect. I knew I'd watched the door. He had it in his pocket. And I took the licensee to have to say, empty out your pockets, and then he still tried to throw it and hide it. So he was very cooperative, whereas his employee wasn't. Then I believe he's reviewed the tapes, and this young man's been taking him pretty much every night.
I filed charges.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
I guess I appreciate the efforts you're planning to make or are making, but as you know, your history isn't great on this
Yes, I'm
particular
aware of that.
issue.
And again, I believe it's to the quality of the people that I hire. I mean, generally speaking, it's hard working in that liquor store. It's a difficult job. It's not easy. So I get kids coming in looking for part-time work. It's $10 an hour. They work 2 days a week. That's it. That's got to stop. You know, I'm looking to hire older people who are more responsible, who understand. You know, I thought this would be okay. I thought the situation, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Like I said, generally speaking, I'm in my liquor store from usually between 9:30, 10 o'clock to 2 a.m. And I'm always keeping an eye on the people walking in the door to see who's stealing from me versus the people that are behind me. If I'm not doing that, then I'm chasing all the hoodlums off the corner. You know, I keep active. I'm constantly busy. I'm always keeping an eye on the place. It just happened the way things happen. And I'm sorry. I really am. I'm doing the best that I can to try to remedy the situation.
Okay. Anything further?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. So on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony, and your admission, Mr. Rugolo, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on April 26, 2018. I was amused by your story about his mother dying twice because years ago I served in the Air National Guard, and I had a colleague each summer as we were put on active duty. His grandmother died 5 years in a row, and he was called back. So I
get stories, believe me.
I always am reminded of that. In any event, as Commissioner Greenfield points out, I am sympathetic, but this is a very bad record. So recognizing the unique circumstances, I would impose a $1,000 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
Okay.
I too find a violation of 4.01A sales to minors on April 26, 2018. I disagree. I'm concerned about this history here. This is the 5th violation of this nature, so I would impose a $1,250 fine.
So I find a violation of Rule 4.01A, and I'm too sympathetic to your circumstance, and I think I'll take you at your word and concur with the chairman at a $1,000 fine. I will say, as I think I said earlier this morning, that one more of these is
Yes, sir.
I mean, each time it gets significantly
I understand.
worse, and so just seem like a good person. We just don't want to see you. You know?
Believe me.
You don't want to see us. I
No
guess.
offense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Might call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Krista Malice.
Riptide by the Bay, 1718 Thames Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 18th, 2018. Please come forward.
Raise your right hands, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Hey, Mr. Ripple, sir.
Yes.
Do you admit or deny that this occurred on April 18th?
And the way I understand it, I admit it.
Pardon?
I will admit it.
Okay. So do you want to speak to the board?
So what happened was, it appears that a cadet came in, served, and my bartender served her, or served him, looks like a Captain in Morgan. She went to the register, actually to ring it in, and that's when, the way I hear, that the police came in, and
But she didn't card him?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Cooperative?
Yes, very.
Okay.
So what I've done now, knowing this, is I've scheduled a refresher course for the awareness class to help bring everyone up to par. So they have that class next week, and we'll take it from there. I haven't had any violations like this, and I'm sure it was just an honest mistake. She's a good employee, just made a mistake.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. On the basis of the charging materials, the testimony, and your admission, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, on April 18, 2018. You have a 2016 two violations, not sales to minors, but others. I'd impose a $350 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 18, 2018, and I will concur with the $350 fine, given the history.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would join my colleagues in the imposition of a $350 fine.
Thank you.
They have papers, is there?
Yes, in the back.
Might call exhibit for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Perez. Thank you.
Baltimore Tap House, 600 South Potomac Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 18th, 2018. Please come forward.
Raise your right hands, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name, ma'am?
Kristen Bates?
Ms. Bates, do you admit that this occurred on April 18?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what happened?
I could do that if you'd like.
That's fine. Your name, sir?
My name is James McGinty.
Okay.
I was the bartender on duty. All I can say is I'm obviously not a child. I probably served my first drink in Massachusetts in 1983. General manager of restaurants in Virginia, Maryland, and I was bartending. I let my guard down, and these guys are doing their job. And
okay.
I served a minor, and I feel horrible about it because this one's one of my best friends. So,
Were they cooperative?
Very cooperative.
Commissioners?
we watched some Royals together.
Yeah, we complained about them.
They are hard to watch.
No questions?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the charging materials, the testimony, and the admission, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, on April 18, 2018. This establishment's had the license since 2004 with no history of violations, so I'd impose a $250 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 18, 2018, and given that licensee has had this license since 2004 with no history of violations, I will concur with the $250 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I declare exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, former State Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Malice. Thank you.
Did you watch them last night?
Barracuda, trading as LLC, trading as Barracuda, 1230 East Ford Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on April the 26th, 2018. Please come forward.
Would you all raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Gentlemen, what are your names?
Hi, William Hughes. I'm
Okay.
the owner.
You're the licensee. Okay. Do you admit that this occurred, sir?
Yes, I do admit this has occurred. Carl was actually the bartender on duty that night. He's been with me 10 years. No prior to this. Unfortunately, it did happen. Carl can explain what happened exactly. We've taken precautions, hung signs. No one, can I give you these?
You may.
Also signed everybody up for the alcohol awareness programs. Again, he's already certified, I'm certified, but unfortunately, you know, people do make mistakes, and let Carl explain what happened. Suspended him for a week. He's back with me. Again, he's he's my bar manager. So usually this was surprising to me as well.
What's your last name, sir?
Trageser.
T-R-A...
G-E-S-E-R.
Trageser. Okay. Mr. Trageser, do you want to tell us what happened?
On the evening stated, the cadet came in and requested a Captain and Coke, upon which I served without identifying the cadet.
Okay. Okay. Cooperative?
Very cooperative.
Any questions from the commissioners?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis of the charging materials, the testimony, and the admission, I find a violation of Rule 4.01A on April 26, 2018. We had a prior violation this year for illegal conduct. I would impose a $500 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 26, 2018, and given that there was a violation back in November 2017, I concur with a $500 fine.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would, given your efforts, I would have imposed a $350 fine, but I'm in the minority.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, former State Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Malice. Licensee Exhibit 1, 6 underage signs. And Licensee Exhibit 2, TAM training information.
And what you said too.
MJL Investments LLC, trading as Barflies, 620 East Ford Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 26th, 2018. Please come forward.
Please raise your right hands.
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you Mr. Leeds, sir?
Yes, I am.
Do you admit this violation?
Yes, I do.
Okay. We would like to hear from you.
Yes, on the evening of the 26th, I imagine right after Barracudas, or certainly after or before. Thursday night, about 10 o'clock, I was busier than normal. Young man came in, ordered a Bud Light. I gave him the Bud Light. He paid. As soon as I turned around, I knew I'd made a mistake. I honestly did. The officers could probably tell you I met them at the door. And I said, "You're here for the Bud Light guy." I knew it right away. Once I gave him the beer, I'd already violated. I've been bartending for 25 years, never had an issue, 7 years at the bar, clean slate. And I've been doing it long enough to know right away that I screwed up, but I was still stupid enough to serve them, so I'm definitely guilty.
We all make mistakes.
And I talked to my staff, they're fully aware of it. I'm TAM certified. Just had a class weeks before this, so I feel doubly stupid for doing this. But
Any problems with Mr. Leeds?
None at all. Very
Okay.
cooperative.
Commissioners have any questions?
No questions?
Do not.
Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony, and the admission, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01A on April 26, 2018. I impose a $250 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 26, 2018, and I concur with the imposition of $250.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and join my colleagues in the imposition of a $250 fine.
Thank you, sir.
thanks.
I'd close this for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Morales. Thank you.
Riley's Oyster, 32-36 East Cross Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April the 26th, 2018. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of licensee.
Good afternoon. Would everyone raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Fogelman, Jennifer McComas showed up on my conflict sheets. Do you know whether she's a client of my law firm?
I don't believe so. Her husband is here. He's the manager. Mr. McComas, do you know if your wife has engaged the law firm?
Wife for Taylor and Preston?
Taylor Preston.
We both did.
Oh, okay. Do you have any objection to me hearing your case today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Is this an admission?
It is.
Okay. We're prepared to hear.
Oh, yes, she is.
All right. Good afternoon. This is an admission. This is an incident occurring on April 26, 2018. Ms. Emily Rutledge did indeed sell to the cadet. Ms. Rutledge is still employed by the establishment, and she's learned a valuable lesson. As you can see from the record, Riley's Oyster has been in business for 17 years. They've had no violations in 9 years. And this is, they're on Cross Street. They have a culture of guarding. You have to be down there, quite frankly, or you get in a lot of trouble. They do better than most as far as not letting minors even in the premises when they can. In this case, Mr. Cavanaugh, he's the manager and the manager on duty. They, as I say, have an almost 100% ID check policy, so there's not really much more they can do to modify their policy to make sure this doesn't happen again, other than to continue to counsel employees as to the grave importance of their doing their job correctly. So again, it's been 9 years since they had anything go on in their bar as far as liquor board rule violations, so I'd ask that you take that into account, and I thank you.
Cooperative?
Very cooperative.
Commissioners?
Certification of all the employees.
Mr. Cavanaugh, I believe, is certified. I know Mr. McComas is certified. I don't know that Ms. Rutledge is certified, and we'd recommend that if she's still there, that she become certified as well.
We actually just certified 15 members of our staff at actually the Federal Hill location as well as our Baltimore County location yesterday.
Thank you.
Instructor come in and do that.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received, the admission and the proffer of counsel, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on April 26, 2018. It has been a considerable time since the last violation, but the record's not entirely clean. I'd impose a $350 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 26, 2018, and I will concur with the chair as to the imposition of a $350 fine, given the history.
I find a violation of Rule 4.01A and would agree with the imposition of a $350 fine.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Take care.
I'd close exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Perez. Thank you.
Is that our afternoon docket, Mr. Page?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until Thursday, June the 7th, 2018, 11 a.m.
Go to
Thank you. You're adjourned.